Aloha to everyone. We welcome you all to another episode of the Polynesian Eyes podcast. He has finally returned from his world travels, but we have Mr. Atearoa with us today. Masi, how's it going? And what's up in your neck of the woods?
No, it's good. It's a beautiful day here in Marurewa, South Auckland. Beautiful day here in New Zealand. Like the past, this month and last month, I was kind of away to Hawaii, and then from Hawaii, 2 week break in New Zealand, catch up with some work stuff, and I went to Tonga. Just arrived this morning, and just I worked from home today and catch up some work stuff. So yeah, everything is going good. Enjoyed the trips to the different isles of once the Polynesian nation from the top to Hawaii and then to the center of the empire in Tongatapu in Tonga these past few months. Awesome, but
Hey, so that's
yeah,
interesting because like you were saying, you went up to the northern, right?
mm,
The far north to Hawaii. You're now on the far south. The only place you're missing is Easter Island, right? If
Easter.
you made that, then you would have had the whole triangle
Yeah,
covered right
yeah.
there.
But I did go to the Eastern Islands earlier in the year to Tahiti. I would like to
Oh,
say in April. So you could say this year I've kind of been all over the different parts of the Polynesian
eh.
Empire.
You've
Huh?
flown over where all the ancestors were,
We're
navigating.
going we're going on the by sea and I went by air. Yeah.
Hey, Polynesian Prince, Malo, Malo,
What's
welcome,
up?
welcome
What's
to the
up?
show. He says, let's go. And Maria Jon Snow. Who's Jon Snow? I'm not familiar. Maybe I'm behind on
Is that the
the
Snowden guy? Is that the
oh,
Snowden guy?
Snowden.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just
Hey,
guessing there,
Polynesian
Polynesian
Prince.
Prince.
Yeah, let us know who Jon Snow is, man. We're not as familiar with that individual there, but so Masi, let's start with your conversation. So you leave New Zealand, you what's the route you usually take to go to Hawaii? You go to Fiji, right?
Yes, I went via Fiji. I had a layover in Fiji, then went to Hawaii. You can go directly from Auckland to Honolulu, but I saved a good amount of like 300-400 bucks doing the layover in Fiji through Fiji Airways, and it's fine. It was a fine, no issues there. So well, I went to Hawaii. Most likely stayed in the I mostly stayed in the North Shore part. Where our parents' home is at, and just did some work there in
Haula,
Haula,
Haula boy.
Haula, Haula North Shore. Did a little work there at my parents' place, and also it was funny, the May or the Ulu tree is very popular amongst Micronesians. We had some Micronesians come over. My parents would sell them some May and
May.
Ulu. They're a big fan of May and Ulu, so we had them come over and pick some. And but yeah, other than that, and then also got met up with my good friend Lee Britz. He's kind of still there in Hawaii. Kind of
Going
went
to
to the
BYU
luau
Hawaii.
too. He graduated from BYU Hawaii and then took us to the Toa Luau. My first time there at Waimea Valley. If you guys know
Oh,
where
really?
Waimea
I've never
Beach,
been there. What's that like?
it's pretty cool. Enjoyed it. They're pretty much a 5-star rated luau out, and
Really?
it's pretty yeah.
Maria?
Run by owners of us, I think Samoan family. Really good, and enjoyed it. It's up there. If you guys know that Waimea Beach is very a picture perfect
Yeah, it's
view, right?
famous. Yeah.
Then yes, that, and then just imagine there's the valley just behind that ocean where the river kind of
That's what I was gonna
runs
say. There's
through.
the river. Is there
Yes,
is there like an area where people go diving or
yes, you can. You can go jump. There's a bridge. People go and
yeah,
jump over the
in
bridge,
there?
go diving,
Okay.
and then there's a valley. That valley back there, to it. You can turn left. So that's where the luau is hosted at.
See, I've
So it was
never
pretty
even
cool.
been down there. I've only come just kind of look where that bridge is,
The
but mostly just stayed on the coastline. So I've never even
coastline.
really gone into that valley area. So that's pretty cool. Real
Yeah.
quick before we continue here, hey Charlie, Malo,
Hello,
stopping
Charlie.
by. Charlie and I went to high school in Tonga High School together. So Malo,
Oh,
Charlie, half and Mike.
hey, what happened? What happened with our Tonga High alum like si Fish?
Oh
What
yeah.
happened to our
Should we say a prayer?
God, I hope, hopefully not all Tonga High alums are quitters like that, do I?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man, that hurt, Masi. But I will say this: it's been pretty painful, in my opinion. I know this may be a very unpopular opinion, maybe with my classmates and
Mm,
alumni from Tonga High School, but I've been kind of disappointed with the whole government. In my opinion, it's just obviously coming from Tonga High School, and there was a whole. I mean, that administration was just packed with Tonga High School alumni. So I was
yeah,
like, okay, all right, we always make the claim about Tonga High School, blah blah blah, and
being
all
above
the
the
things we do.
rest. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and honestly, was kind of disappointed. Didn't see much happening in the kingdom and infrastructure being developed. I'm a big person that you measure your success by how much you improve the quality life of the everyday
So,
citizen, right?
mm,
And building infrastructure that helps people farm, access their land. Because what's the biggest resource that we have? It's our people and the land, right? So,
correct.
and the ocean. So, building infrastructure that allows the people to leverage land, the ocean, whatever, to build some wealth for them and improve their quality of life. That's the biggest thing. And honestly, I really didn't see a lot of that.
Mm,
So, and it sounds like we weren't the only ones that didn't see a lot of that. And, you know, that there's a second time vote of no confidence. And it seems like he knew he was on his way out. So
yeah.
he did that. What's the samurai where they,
Self
yes,
suicide.
yes.
That was the better option. And then he, I think he preferred to do that to himself and then have the other guys cut, cut him up because and it was so funny. No, 'cause same with you too. Tong Hai is known. It's no question. The results come from that school. It's just yeah. Same with you. Disappointed the way things were run because one, it was not the Tonga High way that I think it. Which Tonga Hai's been always competence. Kind of will be
Yeah.
the first preference. It the, didn't seem like that was the pathway that this fellow Tongan alum went by, but disappointed. But no, just it was just so funny because when we're talking about that, he said he did it for the betterment of the country, but he really didn't. Because one, if he did, he would have said that in the beginning before they had all the discussion. Because I watched the whole back and forth. He when
Oh, yeah. You were in Tonga during that whole
yeah,
thing,
I was
huh?
in Tonga. I was in Tonga. He exhausted the option of trying to wiggle away, and then when he found out that he didn't have the votes, then he said, "Okay, I will resign because that was a better way to go out than have other guys vote
Yeah.
you out." So, but yeah, just a little thing on that. But
Yeah, real
since
quick.
he's
No,
a
I appreciate
Tonga
that. We
High,
got a couple more. Hey, Moses, what's up, man? Thank you. Moses says, "What's up, Tonga kids?"
what's up? What's
Um,
up, Moses?
here's another one. Mo, what's up, Tonga? Hey, man, everybody loves this.
What's up, Mo?
Um, what's up, Mo? Oh, yeah, he definitely did that, Mo, and adios, amigo, right? He's like, I guess how that song goes. I had it my way, or I did it my way. That's what he did. He said, even though his way would have been to stay in power, but I guess when you have no other options, he
Mm.
took that route. And so, what does that mean now for the government in Tonga, Masi, on timing for a PM and how what's left? Because what elections are coming up in 12
Yeah.
months, 11 months?
So yes, because election is next year November. So right now, the 20 Christmas Eve, Tonga's time, we will know who will be the next prime minister, and then there'll be election next year in November.
Mm,
So yeah, but the guy who who quit Fagafishi is so but then he will still represent, like he'll still
his
be an
district or
MP
whatever.
till to the end. Yes, but yeah, so we'll have a new PM then. It's pretty crazy. I didn't think these new guy, the second vote of no confidence would mean anything. I thought it was gonna be the
Just a
same result.
political
Yes,
humiliation.
political thing, but looks like things. It wasn't just this group. From what I understand, there was quite a few people outside of the legislative assembly, like we're talking
So
about the monarchy and
yeah,
other people that were like really dissatisfied with how
what the
Sovaleni ran the
situation
government.
was. Yeah.
Yeah,
So basically, it was like Syria, right? I mean, nobody expected Syria, and all of a sudden, out of the
collapse.
blue, Syria collapsed.
Yeah.
So kind of, I kept seeing the stuff on social media, like, oh my
Mm,
gosh, big waves, big blah
mm,
blah blah out
mm.
of Tonga. Like, I was watching. Shoot, I forgot his name. He does that. Him. There's two guys at FM 88.6 or whatever. They do a podcast, and they were talking about people were messaging them, what are we going to do, what does that mean for us? And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
dude, what are you talking about? You act like if there's no PM, like the sky's gonna fall. I
I
mean,
know, I
so
know.
I think it's kind of, I mean, to me, if that's true, that just goes to show that too many people think the government is what provides them
Faufa,
future.
yeah, yeah,
To me, if that's true, that there are many people who are freaking out, what does that mean for me? And blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know what that means for you? Go to your job, go to Uta, go to
yep,
the ocean.
yep.
Nothing changes for you,
Correct.
because a person, the citizen should not be so dependent on the government
Hmm.
that all of a sudden, one change in a position, all of a sudden people feel unsafe. That to me is a problem. Yeah, see, like right here, like what Mo says, yeah, means go to Uta, go work, go do something.
Yeah.
Nothing changes, you know. So what was it like in Hawaii? Masi kind of any? So you went to the Waimea,
You know,
anything else? You meet
luau,
up with
yeah.
any classmates? And
No,
what were
just
the
that.
one or two highlights before you left? Before we go to the kingdom?
No, and then no, just got with a good friend, met with some family, and also saw some extended family in town. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean, very very brief. The main reason was there just to kind of do some errands for our parents, just to do some stuff, and then just mostly in the North Shore. Enjoyed a lot of the beach. I do think if you're in Oahu, the best beaches by far is on the North Shore side. So I went to a bunch of beaches in Pounders, Hukilau,
What's your
and
favorite?
then
What's your favorite beach?
probably Hukilau, man.
Hokilau.
Can't beat the Hukilau beach. I enjoy the Hukilau beach. Just very sand and it's easy to get to. It's just the waves. I tend to like the waves that tend to come out of
Yeah,
Hukilau. The other
it's a it's
waves
a,
and
it's a
other
gradual.
yes,
It's a
it's
nice little,
enjoyable.
yeah.
Yes. So yeah, yeah, can't beat the Hukilau beach.
Hey, got a quick question from some of the viewers here. Masi, this one's from Polynesian Prince. What are your thoughts on the Heiau structures? Or if you
Hey,
got to see any of those? Are you familiar with
no,
that?
yes, is the Heiau no, I didn't have a chance, Polynesian Prince, to see that. I believe is that in the west side, Tua? Are you familiar
I'm
with?
not too far. I think I saw a post once showing it. Is that like where they saw I saw a video saying that it was a potentially like a star observation thing. Let me see if I can find a video real quick.
Maybe I have. I remember going to some things like that with Dad in Hawaii. In Hawaii, is it regarding like the position of rocks, where they're kind of
Yes, yes,
yes. So I
yes.
have been there. Um, my thoughts are
Let me pull up something real quick here, Masi. Let me just let's see this quick video, and then so just so for viewers and everyone just can look at it real quick. Let me get the sound, and let's just view it real quick.
Last few remaining on Lanai. Hi'iheo is located on one of the first mentions of Lanai. Hi'i means to lift up or to cradle, named for the way the land cradles the clouds that drift down from Lanai Hale. A heiau is a religious or spiritual center for Hawaiians that occurred across the Hawaiian Islands. Heiau is named after the area because the traditional name was lost in time. Unfortunately, many place names have been lost in history after Hawaiian language was banned in the early 1900s. Here at Lanai Culture and Heritage Center, we encourage learning the traditional names for places on Lanai and all over Hawaii to honor Hawaiian history and the preservation of cultural sites for generations to come. Visit our website to
Okay, so it's kind of
Mm,
like traditional ruins
yeah,
of
yeah.
some sort there. Go ahead, Masi.
No, I was gonna say too, if you can find something like a heiau in Oahu, because I think I've been to one. Been to one. The heiau, from my understanding, I forgot what if Dad gave his thoughts, but I remember checking out some historical place in Oahu regarding that. But from my understanding, it's like a religious and maybe where I think where women sometimes would come and bless or give birth to like their
That's the one I
offspring.
saw was
Jellyfish.
birth, giving birth. And
Yes,
then
I think that's
and
the
then
one.
it, yeah, and that's the one where they also said like there's some kind of astronomical alignment as well.
EO. Yeah, so it's kind of mix of those things. So that's kind of my thoughts on that Polynesian prince. But yeah, I remember being going somewhere. I don't know if that's in West Oahu. I can't remember where
Yeah.
exactly in
I
West
got I
Oahu.
got another video here we can look at. The 2-minute video. We'll pull it up here and just kind of give a reaction to it. Let me turn back on the sound. Let me know if you don't hear it. Every once in a while, I mess
Yeah.
up the settings here.
Pu'u o Mahuka Heiau. There's nothing like the serene vibe you experience here on the bluffs.
So the first thing, this is much bigger than the one I saw. So it looks like it's a much larger
Yeah,
structure here,
yeah.
but it reminds me of the Pulemele
In
in
Sava'i.
Samoa. It reminds me of the Ta'u Island of the Tu'imanua
Yes.
locations, and then also throughout Eastern Polynesia,
Futuna,
the
Uvea,
Futuna. Yes, it's the stacking of these
Tahiti.
coral
What is it?
rocks. Yeah,
What are the
Tapu
Tahitians
Tapu
called? The
Atea in Tahiti
Tapu
and
Tapu
stuff.
Atea. Mm.
So okay, very interesting.
Overlooking Waimea Bay. It's an ancient Hawaiian temple that dates to the 17th century and a fantastic opportunity to look through a window into Hawaiian history.
See, I was looking. The last one I saw was like a
Yes,
big rock like this.
yes, more like that. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I remember seeing.
Its name translates to Hill of Escape, and it certainly is that.
This is our last night here on the island, and we're spending it doing a picnic at the temple up above Pupukia. And we're here at sunset, and almost on cue when we set the picnic up, the sun burst out for magic hour, and it is spectacular up here. It's so peaceful, and you've got views of up and down the North Shore, Kaina Point, and Waimea Bay.
This heiau is one of the largest on the island, and with a clear line of sight to the signal fires on Kauai, a strategic access for communication between the islands for the high priests, known as kahunas. Pu'u o Mahuka
kahuna.
ended up being used as a temple of war. And when Kamehameha conquered Oahu in 1795, it's thought by some to have become a site for human sacrifice. Legend has it that spirits abound here, and these gifts have been placed for those from the beyond believed to inhabit these grounds.
I didn't know they still do these little offerings.
People still leave little tokens, like sacrificial tokens here, wrapped in palm leaves, carrying on the tradition of this temple.
Hawaiian royalty was known as ali'i. They searched for fertile lands and strategic positions to establish centers of control. And the rich soil and plentiful water source of the Waimea Valley were the perfect location to build a heiau of this size. The stone walls were constructed of basalt and pumice, and today mark the outline of a structure that had walls as high as 6 feet. There would have been several thatch-roofed structures within these walls, and this altar used for ritual sacrifice.
That seems to be very similar to the Pulemele mound where they thought, it was a sacrifice, and they thought they would find people buried there, but they never did. They found a post where people were probably lived. This seems to be maybe a Ho'eki lived on and then eventually became this sacred thing.
Yeah, I agree.
There's really nowhere on earth to compare to this mystical 2-acre state park at the magic hour. Add to that our picnic from the food trucks down below at Shark's Tooth Cove, and it's just about as close to perfect as an evening can get.
Hawaii is a beautiful place, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Hawaii is just probably the best weather in the world year round. Hard to beat. You know,
Waves.
water,
Yeah.
mountains, you know, rivers, you know, valley. I mean, it's a beautiful place for sure.
Mm.
So hey, Malo Mo for asking that question. I've heard of
Oh,
it
I think it
here
was.
and there.
I think was it
Is
Polynesian
it
Prince?
Polynesian
I think.
Prince? Oh,
Yeah,
Polynesian
Polynesian
Prince,
Prince.
Malo. But yeah, so tell me what happened. That anything else in Hawaii must you want to talk about, and then where did you
No,
go
that was
from
about.
there?
No, that was about it. And then came back to New Zealand about 2 weeks, did some work stuff, and then went off to the Kingdom. Spent about 11 days there. Just got back this morning. It was great. Mostly stayed in Mua, in Talashiu, and Hoi area, and then yeah, just kind of went walked around, met, kind of talked to some old people that kind of remembered us, and back in the days, and caught up with them, and also met some new people. Um, so and then during that time, I didn't really go to Nuku'alofa side too much. Only did there to go eat and maybe to do some other errands, and went in Faikava at Hihifo side in Fatai with some of my older brother's kind of friends and stuff. He hangs out there, and then yeah. But other than that, most of it was just at our side of the Hahaki side, and yeah, went swimming in Fuamotu a lot at Fefe if people know where that is at, where there is, where that beach is at, and then also went to Afa, which is close to Kolonga side, where um, Daniel, my older brother, or our older brother, built a wharf, and it was good to go swim there, and just seeing that wharf, how that has actually encouraged a lot of people on that side of the island to go fishing more.
Yeah, see, and kind of going. That's how you have an impact on people's daily
Mm,
lives, right?
mm,
Like because if you don't have that, it seems like something small, but it has a huge impact, right?
y-
Because now getting your fishing equipment in and out, your catches in and out, right? Being able to
yeah,
come, whether it's low tide or high tide, being able to get on and off, it has a direct impact. It encourages people to be
mm,
more
yes,
industrious, to
yes,
create economic transactions and value. Just the same thing like roads do the same
yeah,
thing. Infrastructure matters, so it's cool
yeah.
to see that that's having a direct impact on people's
No,
daily
it
life.
was no, too, and it was good. It was a good sight to see because after we're swimming, we're just sitting there for a while, and then like we see a bunch of families come with their coolers and spears and stuff, just put in the side, waiting for other families to come so they can all leave together on the boat so they can go fishing all at one time. Because
Mm,
what Daniel's been hearing, when before he even built, because before he built that wharf, and a lot of people don't know that other than town in Nuku'alofa, the only other wharf in Tongatapu is in Hahake, in Afa. And before they had the wharf, many people kind of didn't really go fishing because it was just very hard to get on the boats and then wait for the certain amount of the tide to,
tides.
high tide to come up, and then just going, and then like coming back, it was just very difficult. So many of the people who are skilled in fishing were just going to Uta, and then that was kind of
Yeah,
like, that was just the thing.
the window of fishing is limited to when the seas and the tide
Yes,
favorability. But with
no,
the
and
infrastructure like that, you can go anytime.
anytime,
Yeah,
anytime. It's all about having everyone just having enough money to get enough gasoline, so you can go. The deeper you go, the better fish you can get, and not using the whole day. Because now, the like what you were saying to, now that there's a wharf there, people are encouraged to fish, and then because of that, they're eating a lot healthier foods. So because a lot of the guys would go and work in Uta, they would sell their produce from
to go
Uta, they
buy
get the money,
chicken and
they'll
meat.
go
Yeah,
buy and import food, right, and to feed their family. But now they have their Uta, their starch, then they can go fish. all within the same day and still provide for their family, and it's not too much stress on their, you know, on their kind of whole well-being. So it was pretty, it was a good sight to see. And also that Eweki, it made it easier for people to travel. There's about 150 people who live in Eweki. They will come back and forth. So, and that we went like on a what Wednesday, and that place was kind of
Packed.
packed, you know, filling out with people. So that was a great sight to see, and it was good to hear Daniel the reason why he built that. And it's pretty remarkable that the only wharf in Tongatapu is in Hahake, in Afa, out of all
And that's kind
places.
of a sad thing to say, right? Because
That is,
imagine throughout the entire island, imagine if every 8 to 10 miles, or
there's
even
a
20
wharf.
miles, there's a
Yeah,
wharf. Like, and
yeah,
that has a huge, and even that, let's say just two on Hahake, two on
I mean,
Halariku side, a
yeah,
couple in Hihifo. Yeah, we're talking like maybe what, 8 wharfs, maybe, and then that's it. Like, that
yeah.
has a huge impact.
Yeah, and then and this is the thing I was thinking to. I'm just thinking like, man, I remember going to Homa, going to the blowholes and see, and I'm seeing like fishers have to walk through the rocks, right, in order to go and catch some fishes. I'm like, man, imagine if we had like a wharf that some of these fishermen can go and actually be safe and do it in a, not use the whole day. Like I said, time it's a hard work to go out there and
Yeah,
fish
and
and then
fish.
come back and then like go sell. And sometimes, if you don't have
Yeah.
reliable electricity, the food can get spoiled because you have the ocean so I'm just saying like, man, so Daniel foresaw that, built a wharf in Afa, and it was just great to see the people utilizing it and
Nah, that's
for that
awesome.
purpose.
Here's another comment. It reminds me of some of the pictures you sent, Masi. Mo says Alaki used to be the point where my grandfather went out from, and you walked, as you said, you were walking. You
Yeah,
made it to Alaki, to Captain Cook's Point. I wonder how far away is. He says it's called Tolopona. I don't know. Is that close to Captain Cook's Landing, Mo? Give us a
yeah,
heads up on that. But Masi, tell us about, start from Alaki and walk
yes.
back towards Talasiu, and what was that like? What you
So
saw?
when I went to Alaki, I have this to say. So growing up in Tonga for many years, used love the public bathrooms, the cleanest and working public bathroom I ever been in all of Tongatapu was in Alaki at the Hakeanga of Captain Cook, where Captain Cook first kind of came to Tongatapu to meet with
Mari
his pal.
Alaki.
Because it was funny. Because I walked from Talasiu all the way to actually worked from Talasiu. I walked all over Hoi first, and then I went to Alaki, and I went to the public bathroom where Captain Cook's has the monument stuff where he kind of first met the Tuitonga. And then I kind of sat there, and we all know we don't really trust Tonga, the public bathroom. We don't trust it, like if it's gonna have running water or if it's gonna be enough toilet paper. So a lot of people just got just be really patient and just really handle and just hold it till you get home or whatever. But then I went and looked the public bathroom. It was nice, clean. There was the water was running 24/7, and like it and it was good to see because I've heard, especially like Laki, Tatagmotonga, La Paja, their water. Because back when I was growing up, the water it wasn't 24/7, but what I hear now
Yeah.
is 24/7. But it was good to see that, like, true, because I saw the water was running, and then I saw toilet paper, 2 rolls of toilet paper there. It was nice and
Oh,
clean.
dang.
They had
Nice.
hand soap to wash. I was like, money. Laki's got it right. And I was telling my older brother, it's like, dude, whoever
They're
is
doing
at
it
the
right in
Alaki,
Alaki.
yeah, whoever's at the Alaki running that office, that needs to be duplicated all over Tongatapu, or whoever's there in Alaki, that should be the CEO or the boss for in charge of the public bathrooms. But
Can we get a shout out to the team in charge of Alaki, Captain Cook's
yes,
Landing, please?
yes, because I
Dang,
mean,
Maria.
we all have stories of like going to public bathroom. You don't have enough toilet paper, the water's not running, and then you figure out yourself how you're gonna finish up your business. So that was good to see. So my first time to kind of like, this is like, dude, this was really good. So I enjoyed Alaki, um just kind of walking around there, and I know we had some relative. I think Alacoca Tua was kind of married to somebody there, and she kind of lived
Mhm.
there, grandma's sister. So just kind of met some people there. It was good, and then went to Tatagmotonga. Tatagmotonga is probably where I had most of my interactions and spent a lot of the time there because we stayed there most of the time when we grew up, and met some old families. Kind of people. It was good, man. People were selling all over Hake, all different kind of crops: corn, watermelon,
That's
pineapples,
awesome.
kumala, and the different types of kumala, limu, the seaweed. I also saw shellfish. So things were economics wise. People were selling and doing their best way to kind of provide and stuff. So I kind of met a lot of
That's a
different
good
people.
sign.
Yes, and went in Faikava at the Kalapu Kolokakala. That was really really good to be there and just seeing some of them still, they still recognize that part of area is the, Hatagalawa, Kere Kere Eiki, or
Hmm.
Hatagalawa. And just it was good. It was good just to see that now Puke Pe Talafunwa in that area and stuff. So, went met some guys there. Met a guy, Tua. He's a Muasain. He said he remembers playing with you. So we had a
More
good catch up.
Saints.
Muasain's was it Otulau Fiefia, that's his name, and
A lot
we
of
had a good
memories. A lot of
discussion. Yeah,
memories.
gave us some good updates that the under 17 team this past year took champs in league, the Mua
Marie.
Saints. So he's part of the coaching team there, and was kind of filling me and my older brother just about that. And things are going well in Tatamotonga. Went to La Paja. La Paja is really good. Like I said, the water is running 24/7. But when I did go to the Langi Pai Pai Oterea and Namuala, at the back, I went to their public bathroom. It wasn't as good as Alaki because the water wasn't running. So so I was like, oh, Alaki one is
Hey.
still better. La Paja was no water because I always just check things here and there. The water wasn't running and stuff. So I was like, oh
Uh,
man. So I just kind of walked around there. I learned like some new thoughts here. I didn't know that there was a mound opposite from Namuala and Pai Pai Terea, um, apparently where the first Tu'ihateho was buried. So, those who are
okay.
familiar, I think Tu'ihateho is more of the Ha'ateho, Ha'ateho estate area. So I didn't know that the first Tu'ihateho was buried there also. There's a mount opposite from that, and there's like a tree on top where I was kind of just sitting there, just kind of looking for Moko. And but yeah, went from there. Also met up with some family that lives in Lakfue
Mm.
area, and kind of had ice cream and stuff there, and then kind of walked to Talasiu also went with my nephew to check out the Talasiu Langi Malmalwaa, was where a lot of our ancestors are buried at. And then yeah,
That's cool.
it's still there. It's a lot. You can tell some of our family members have cleaned it up because it's the weeds and stuff have pushed back. So now there's a lot more space. There's a lot more room and the Langi area. So yeah, and then yeah, made it back to Hoi. Enjoyed meeting with the people of Hoi, and also just learning some history of Hoi too. Like there's some popular places of the connections of the ancestors that would come to Hoi and Talasiu. Like there's the what Pulupulu or Tamure, which is a popular vai there in Hoi.
Mm.
That's a strong connection to East Polynesia, and particularly the Tahitian islands, because that's I guess they would come and they would have a lot of kids with the Aiki in that area with Tonga, and especially I think, and it could have been maybe during the time of the Ignacio or Polo Polo, when the whole kind of empire would come and congregate, and that's kind of where they would, because Tamule, from what I understand, is a Tahitian dance,
Mm.
uh, type of dance. So, when kind of explore around in Hawaii, because we have some relatives there, and just kind of that's where I kind of did most of my spending time, because Lolotava, which is our family land, is really kind of at the tail end of Talasiu, literally right across, and the end of Talasiu is Hawaii. So got to meet and catch up with the locals there. The kids love the kids do a lot of their selling of their products kind of right in front of the home there. So kind of got to know the Hoy kids, kind of filled me in, and the Hoy kids, man, they
All
were
the
working.
news, the current news, what
Yeah,
the
yeah, and
comings
then
and goings.
yeah, because they sit there from like 9 in the morning to like 4 in the afternoon because school is out. The parents are going to the uta and giving them all these things to sell, and they were even selling pua, kahoa pua, the pua necklaces. That was
Some
getting
lays,
popular.
yeah.
So like when Tongan weddings were
How much do
happening
they
in
sell
like
a pua and kahoa pua for
so if it's a very fresh one that's been made on that
that
same
day?
day, it's $10, and then if it's the pua that they
Dang,
yeah, and
ten
then if it's the
bucks.
$10. And then if it's like a board that they've kind of made maybe a day later and they kind of put it in the fridge or something, it's like $5. But yeah, that it was one time I was just sitting there watching the kids, and then a wedding finished, and then wedding was passing by. I think they just came from town doing the whole necesita and stuff, and
Bought
they're
it
going
out.
back. They were going back to have the reception. They bought the whole kids, and that made the kids whole day because they finished earlier. They can go and play. So
Yeah, freedom.
um, yeah, so yeah, I mean, those are the little things that I enjoyed, and but yeah, I had an awesome time spending with my older brother and his family. So yeah, and also just spending time in Lolotava. We just finished, my older brother just finished kind of building his home there, so just kind of spent a lot of time in Lolotava. Back in the days, it was kind of like the area where we would go to that my dad would drop us off and we'd like pick new or like wine and stuff and some different things because Lotava had a bunch of May too and just a different kind of random stuff that we would take back to the
Mm,
Tagmonton. So it was just good memories. Drink a lot of new and stuff.
that's
Because
my
the family
favorite,
probably
man. Best drink in the world. New mata.
yeah, yeah. So unfortunately, um when I had to go in and grab those news and stuff, man, you break a lot of sweat and stuff because the heat was also hot there in Tonga. So, but it was good. I enjoyed it. And yeah, hopefully I will be back there soon. But yeah, that's just the whole gist. Dua.
Okay, no, that's awesome. No, that was a great trip. I lived vicariously through you, through all the videos and the pictures. Great food. It seems like the cuisine in Tonga has come a really long way.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't
yeah,
believe they're selling the cajos for $10, and then a really good plate of food is like $10.
yeah, yeah,
So kind of
yeah.
cool. Kind of cool.
Mhm.
Um, no, that's cool. The next part we're gonna just kind of talk through real quick is one we looking at the time here, we got we'll just go through one question from YouTube, and I think we'll watch the short video that they're responding to real quick. Let me see. uh, Let me see if we can get the video to play here, and I'll pull it up. We'll watch the video that the question or the comment is coming
Mm,
through, and then
mm.
I'll read the question in the comment. I'll bring it up, and then we can kind of respond to
Let's
it
go.
real quick. So we'll press play here. Let me know if you don't hear any sound, but it should be good.
Nope, I don't hear anything, Dua.
Oh, you don't? Let
No.
me. Oh, yep. I turned off the volume over there. Let's try it again.
Part of that was creating a system that would bring every part of Polynesia of the empire back to Tonga. There's a reason why that Polo Polo and Inasi was created, and it could to me it could be created even before that during the Tangaloa era. We're stating that the Tui Tonga is just a continuation of the Tangaloa. Tangaloa probably initiated that practice way before, and there's a reason why. A lot of the women from the outer empire came and have kids with the Tangaloa, Tuitonga. Then when they came back from the Polo Polo and stuff, they went back, disseminated back to their islands, and they still maintained that relationship. And because if they had a child from the
Mm-hmm.
Tangaloa, being the first people from Vaihi, the Americas, to Tonga, it gave them rank, it gave them status. And then they were in control in their island, but they always referenced their authority back to Tangaloa or Tuitonga, and that's how power was maintained. Not
Yeah.
always military.
So that's the
Hmm.
video. And the comment looks like let me bring up the comment is I'll read. So it's a response to that video.
Okay, gotcha.
And it says, I'll do the first paragraph. I mean, I'll tell you this, man. The people who watch our shorts and our videos, they
Yeah, they're
love
dedicated.
long responses, man. This one wasn't too
Dedicated.
bad. I mean, we've seen some novels. We appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
give this guy a thumbs up, but I give a thumbs up to as many people as I can. Uh, Pros or cons, for or against. But it says, this is Kavi Kaleaena 3464 says, do you guys understand how a government works?
Mhm.
Much less a monarch. The entitlement system, which I'm assuming is the titles, right?
Okay.
Carried over to Tonga from Samoa,
Hmm.
being that Tonga didn't have its national identity until the 1800s. So before that, it was part of a shared entitlement system with Samoa, with the Tongan Pe'a, Tatau, being today a big reference to past links. This is not a horrible story, it's a shared one. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Any thoughts on that, Masi? On that?
Yeah. Well, see, and this is the I I can't see it from right. This person would have to go deeper, like where specifically, because we've kind of broken down to a because it can't be from Samoa because title wise, that the names of titles that we've seen that's been provided in Samoa, they don't predate the Tuitonga line, so
No.
it can't be a national identity. Because to me, the only identity I can think of is the Tangaloa identity and the Tuitonga identity,
Correct.
right? So that's the only thing I can think of, and a lot of that identity was established in, just to be more specifically on Tongatapu, right?
Yes.
Right, and then it has its branches spread out to Ha'amoa, Ha'apai, Vava'u, Tahiti, Tahiti, Waihi, Hawaii, Savaii, all of these other places. So that's the only thing I would kind of mention with this kind of comment here. And this is the thing I'm not too familiar with, but from what I understand, there's been a big reference on the whole Tada Tao thing as being a big deal.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think that's a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal that what we are making it in today, that it's a big deal. I
Yes.
don't know.
Actually, that's a good point. I have a video, and I thought, no, maybe, but let's answer this, and then we'll go into that because it's a big controversy. I touched
Yeah.
about it a little bit, but I have another video that we can comment on, Masi, after we go through this comment. We'll circle back because I think that's an important conversation, right?
Yeah. Well, and I'm gonna also share this too. I'm married to a half Ha'amoa, half Tongan wife here, and I talked to her grandfather who is 89 years old. He grew up in Upolu. He was born in Lepea, and also grew up in Levili area. That's in the Apia area, and also in Solo Solo. And this is, and I had a curious question. I asked him, Grandpa, did you like how big was the bear you growing up? He said it wasn't a big deal. He said when he got to his 20s, he said then that was like a revival. So
Mm.
apparent, and I'm thinking this is just me thinking, he is 89 years old. He doesn't remember it being a big deal until he was in his 20s, and he played for Manu Samoa in his 20s, and this is when he
So
said
he
a lot
was
of his
with the
friends.
popular culture at the time,
Yes,
very familiar with
yes,
what's going on. Okay.
yes. And he said he only heard about it when his friends were saying, "Oh, they're gonna go get it." And I'm just thinking, and this is just me thinking out loud, right? Was this just a certain family who's kind of kept it, right? And then when they shared it with everybody, then they've kind of used whatever that family's design or how they've thought it. Because I'm a big believer. Each different kind of families had their own different designs or way of da, right? And then I'm thinking, whoever that first family was, I think next time I talk to him, who was that family? And then if that family that when he said he was kind of being revitalized in Bolu, was sharing their family designs to everybody, and that's which is the dominant design it is
Yeah.
today. I don't know. I'm just
Yes.
thinking out loud
No, I
because
mean,
I
if
thought that
it
was interesting.
the fact that it had to be revived means you have a common starting point or a very small starting point, which would immediately, that's where everybody will base their ideas off. It's no different than the academic world where they have to, when you write a paper, you have to reference another paper. And so
Yeah.
once the first person comes out with a theory or a study on Polynesian origin, let's say Lapita or Austronesian, then guess
Mm.
what? All the other academics reference those studies, right? And then all of a sudden you build this momentum. When you trace it back, it has one or two common denominators in it. Um,
Yeah.
I think, well, let's look at that video shortly after this. But the couple things I want to mention
Yeah.
in Kavi's here's comment is, I mean, yeah, you don't want to be schooling or lecturing Tonga, who's had an independent government
Yeah.
and politics since the beginning. I wouldn't be if I was Samoan, and I guess I am Samoan because I have Samoan blood, and so do
Yeah.
you. But I wouldn't be pointing fingers and trying to tell Tonga if they understand how a government runs, when Tonga has had an independent government for
Since the
all
beginning.
history,
Yeah.
right? And so that's the first thing. The next one is a monarch. Well, Tonga is the only monarch in the Pacific. So, I'd say don't throw stones if you live in a glass house. That's my first thing. The next one is the entitlement system, and saying that that's carried over to Tonga from Hamoa. The Matai system is not the Tuitonga system that's in
Mm.
Tonga. And we've covered this extensively. Now, there's advantages of the Matai system, right? And Tupou the first leveraged that
Yes.
advantage to obtain power. But once he got power, he referred back to the Tuitonga system of inheritance, right? Because
Which
there's
is
certain advantages there. That the Tuitonga system is really good for longevity and maintaining
Mm.
structure and order, but not very good for adopting to change.
Change.
So
Yeah.
it was, credit to Tupou the first and those people. They were able to leverage the system that made sense to gain power, but once obtaining power, referred back to the one that allows governance and structure long term. So bringing in the entitlement system, Ha'amoa does not have the same title system that Tonga has, right?
Mm.
And even in some of the studies we looked at, the density of titles and variety, the stratosphere of titles, and the condensed nature of it in Mua, it shows a higher concentration of power. That was one of the studies said, that you could tell that Mua was a center of an empire because of the density of titles, and the stratification of titles meant a lot of political and religious and social power was in those areas. One of the things, and we're talking about hereditary power and
Mm.
title. We're not talking about like the Matai system where, a Matapure system, which is basically the Matai system. You make those up as you go, right?
Yeah.
You can just like, oh, we're just gonna, it's like being knighted in the
Yeah.
English. Everyone's a knight, right?
Mm.
But not everyone is Prince Charles. But
Yeah.
on Tongatapu, there is hereditary power, meaning inherited power, many titles that span many generations. That is not, so I don't think it's a fair or a good comparison to say that the entitlement system from Ha'amoa is what we have in Tonga. I think those are very, very different things. And then before I get too far on the comments, because the comments here are picking up. Let me see here.
No, no, and
Oli,
just to
go ahead,
just to
Masi.
add on to it, no, just to add on, the reason why Tongatapu system was not followed, and that's why Tupo the first referred back to the old Tui Hadagalawa and the Tui Tonga way of bestowing power, because even until now, right, that has caused delay when you have to elect, because it was the Tuikon Polu way of doing things, because they had a large, we're talking about thousands of their family relationships from Upolu came and settled in the Hihifo side in Tongatapu. They did things like the Matai system of electing. But Tupolo the first,
Yes.
once he had power, like you mentioned, Tua, he referred back because the longevity. Because if he didn't go back, Tonga would have the same. If Tonga had the same way of doing things in Upolu and Savai'i and Tutuila and Manua, we would not have the same independence and sovereignty we have now. That's the
No,
reason why
100%.
Tonga is different. So that's why I'm saying it can't be the we've 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 used and utilized the extension of the Ha'amoa way of electing political authority or titles, but only for a short time, because that's what actually saved Tonga from
Yeah.
having Tupolo first to be the leader. But he referred back, and that was smart on Tupolo the first, because that's how we were able to maintain
Yeah.
our
To
sovereignty. So that's why
consolidate
there's
power. Yeah.
yes, yeah, that's
And
all.
here's another interesting thing that kind of goes with the overall argument of the Matai system, which is the Ha'amoa system and empire building.
Hmm.
It is almost impossible to be an empire builder in a Matai system because leadership changes,
Hmm.
right? And it's a little bit that's the reason why a lot of people say America suffers greatly and suffers greatly when it tries to be an empire builder, because in a democracy, right, leadership changes, which means the vision changes every 4 years possibly.
Priorities changes because people have
Exactly,
their
because
own
different
priorities.
leaders. Exactly. So when you bring in the Matai system, you cannot lead an empire over millions of square miles, thousands of miles apart in a Matai system, because it has advantages, right? Because it distributes power, it can adjust locally, but to maintain power over long periods of time, Matai system is not a good system if you're an empire builder or to maintain and sustain an empire.
Yeah. Just to add on to the most powerful Matai title in Upolu and Savai'i, probably Tutuila too, Tui Manua, that's debatable, but the Maria Toa title is still vacant since the Tanu Maifili the second passed
Yeah.
away. Talk about 20, I think it's been 20 years. I can't remember, but it's been a very long time. And look, they haven't, the extended family hasn't agreed on who should hold
See,
that title.
not enough stability.
Just imagine. Let's just say if Samoa was in chaos, right? And then that region, that their paramount chief Maria Toa, there's no title, there's no person that's had that title. Just imagine trying to have a leader who you can follow, and the family hasn't still decided
Well,
on who's the
and
paramount chief.
and with
You
what
know,
you're saying, under that idea, if one of the more powerful Matai or chief's position is from the words of the Tuitonga, then this statement of the entitlement system comes from Tonga. If you're going to talk about how the structuring of titles, yeah. So here's a couple comments here. Oh Yahweh, water bears. Oh Yahweh, loto mamaya water bears. Masi
Water
that
Bears, welcome
follow
back. Nalo.
Puri.
Hey,
Welcome back, water bears.
now ki fo watu vai ni ke maalahi pia vai ni Water Bears. Nalo.
Kay maalahi pa vai ni poto eh.
Vai ni poto. Moe kololahi vai
Yeah.
poto.
Did you
Vai
have a
ni is huge,
taco?
man.
Did you have a taco in Vaini in remembrance of water bears?
I only had tacos in Mua, but not vai ni. But hey, still the same. No kain nga pe.
Yeah.
Nalo.
Hey, Polynesian princess, what was it called when they would send their chiefs to spread around? It's called tokatufa. When
Mm,
the women would come have a child with the tuitonga or the tui or the tangaloa, right? And then that would be the
yeah.
chief and the leadership structure in the other islands.
Yeah, and
Um,
and I'll just kind of mention to it, like the reference I said in Talasiu area, where, because I just learned this information, where Lomu Eki is kind of where we kind of descend from, who was the older brother of Tedea. Is that Tedea Tua?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Telea. He had a lot of connections with Eastern Polynesia. That's why that place is called Pulu
Tamure.
or Tamure. A lot of the Tahitians who come, they'll have kids with Lomu Aiki and stuff, and then their descendants will go back and they were like Aiki in Eastern Polynesia. So it's the same kind of thing. It was a tokatufa. Eh? It was
Yeah,
the same kind of practice of that ancient system of Tangaloa started.
10-4. We'll leave this window open. We'll come back to it, Masi. But
Okay.
let's pull on the string of the Tatao here. Let's watch this guy.
There's a weird section.
This guy he has a pretty good following. He's a pretty good storyteller. But he's gonna weigh in. I mean, he has over 200,000 views on this one video, but this is
Okay.
kind of in the heat of the tattoo drama.
Okay.
Of you guys that are starting to actually defend something like this, saying that this is somehow cultural appreciation, that this is some kind of evolution of our culture. Oh my god, you guys!
So you know what that is, the picture of in the background, right, Masi?
That's the a Tongan lady
Tongan
doing like
girl,
a Tongan malu
yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of like, I've seen this position by a lot of our brothers and sisters that
Okay.
he's going to share.
We want to punch you in your face. Now, I've already explained what the malu is to our culture and why is it so important. That our malu is much more than a bunch of motifs slapped in a certain pattern. That it represents so much more. So let me get this down straight for all of you, okay? Tonga has never, ever had this type of tatau ever in their history. The malu is a sacred Samoan.
So remember that.
Hmm.
Never ever
Mhm.
apparently, okay? And we'll see how never ever actually turns out.
Mm-hmm.
One practice, not whatever the fuck this is. And I already gave my message to this unfortunate woman and this disgrace of a tufunga. But now my message, I turn to us as Samoans. This is what we are reaping because we have not sowed. We haven't put in the actual work into monitoring, into holding on to, withholding, gatekeeping these cultural icons of our heritage. We have completely failed as Samoans when it comes to holding back on who is able to get these tatau. We have been too lax on what we just give away. Too many chiefs who should have never been chiefs in the first place.
Yeah, we
Too
agree
many
with that.
Mitsi
Mm.
who bear the bell
What is that?
who should have.
Songai Miti
Mhm.
is another way of it's the male. So malu is specifically for women.
Ah,
Songai
that's
Miti
the
is
pea.
specifically for men. Yes, and pea is just a general term of just a tatatao, just
Oh, so
tattoo. So that's
okay.
the difference. So it's gender specific with that name. Songai Miki and the malu.
Mm, okay.
Pea is just a
So that's
general
the right
tattoo.
name. Pea is just like tatatao.
Iyo.
Okay.
Never ever gotten in the first place. Too many women with the malu who should have never gone under the owl. Too many tufunga who forsake the weight of our culture for the weight of their wallet. This is what we get. This is the kind of stuff that people think is okay because we have become so lax into what we have been giving to other people. Here we are, and we say this is sacred. This is part of our culture. But do we treat it as such?
Yay.
Have we held back on who specifically gets these tatau? Have we upheld our culture in that way? We are reaping this because we have not sowed the seeds that will ensure that our culture will live on for 1,000 years more. This isn't something out of the blue. This is after decades of us just forsaking what we have. Now, don't get it twisted. This ain't it. This is not okay. But let this be a lesson to us as Samoans that if we don't hold fast to our culture and our heritage, someone else is going to take it. There's
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Beware, beware.
so
What
serious.
are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, Masi?
Like I said, man, when you put it out there with tattooing, and we live in a world that is money driven, and like I said, man, sometimes the tufungas, if they're willing to make a six-figure one session and stuff, I don't know who's gonna say no. And the thing is, they say sacred and stuff. I mean, Tongans are right now. Well, what's happening right now? So we have people from Indonesia who is making uh, f- fala and stuff that
Yeah.
is a lot cheaper. It's the same thing what Tonga is going through with these Indonesian made mats that are 10 times cheaper than the original mats that are made in Tonga or other parts of Polynesia, because they can go and still do their responsibility with functions or events, and it's at a cheaper price. It's the same thing with this Tao stuff. I mean, it's just part of this conflict that is like, it's just a thing that we all have to navigate and deal with. It's just very interesting. I mean, the thing is, right? When you get a Tongan, and that's gonna be a thing at Tongan events now. They're gonna ask, "Goy kolo aya me fe," like
Yeah.
and that's the thing, and it's gonna worth a lot more. And the thing is, it's
Yeah.
only gonna
It
drive
makes
up
the original one
even
much more
drive up.
valuable.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, when I went to Tonga, it was good. I was walking all over Haake, everywhere. I'm still hearing the people still doing their kokaanga stuff. Still
Yeah, because
making
that's
the ngato and
thousands of
stuff.
dollars, man.
Thousands of dollars. So heard that throughout my whole time in Toronto. So think people, it's still encouraging people to do it. To me, with this whole Tao stuff, it's just people. If you can't deny somebody if they're gonna go get a tattoo from a tattoo shop, and whoever the tattoo is, they're gonna just decide if they're gonna want the money, and then if they treasure that this is sacred, then they won't do it. But if they don't, or they want to do some verifications here and there, and the person who's gonna pay them whatever amount dollar amount they want, and this is a guy that's gonna set up. I'm just saying, a tattooist set up his future or set up his family's
He just had good
future.
advertising, man. Good marketing plan.
That's what I'm saying. So it's gonna be hard to say it's sacred. Like, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
that's
Well,
where I'm
and
coming
and
from.
it comes back to what you're saying in your conversation with your grandfather-in-law.
Mm,
When he was in his 20s, nobody really talked about it. It wasn't
no,
a thing.
it
And then
wasn't.
all of a
Yeah.
sudden it became a thing. Then there's a revival,
Yes.
obviously, and this comes back to Tonga traditionally very slow to push back against tradition. And it's
Yeah.
because of the structure that we are used to, right? It was against the religion. There was a uniform. That's the
Yes.
advantage of uniform behavior, is
Yeah.
everyone stays on the same page. The negative is slow to change, right? There's no,
Yes.
with the Matai system and the thinking like in Ha'amoa, very hard to hold tradition, quote unquote, but it's also very quick to adopt new ideas and also to
Yeah.
reinstate old traditions. And that's what
Hmm.
happened in Ha'amoa. Tongans are slowly coming around to that
Yeah.
now, 70, 60 years later.
Yeah.
But I mean, but here's the funny thing, Masi. Remember, see, this is why we try to tell people, this is why it's so important for us to have these conversations. It's not always the fun to talk about, but we have to know the truth. Where did everything start from? Where did it come from? Because once we
And that's a
realize
good
we
question.
were
It's
all
not
one
even.
nation,
Yeah.
then you cannot say, oh, Pe'a
That's yours.
or Malu is yours. It's everyone's. And here's the funny thing, because remember, he said Tonga never had this. Tonga never
Yeah.
had that. And somehow, and this is, and I'm not trying to be rude, but this is what happens when you think you're the origin, right? And all we're asking is, you could be right, but I see a lot of evidence for something else, and we're bringing that conversation to the table. And here, let's just use the tattoo, which they feel they have a monopoly on because it's theirs, it originated from them. Well, what do we say about this? Right? So there's a
Hmm.
Tongan version here at the top,
Yeah.
right? And it says oldest tattoo kit found in Tonga.
Tonga-tapu.
Okay.
In Pea, right?
In Pea. And somebody here mentioned, it's like, hey, isn't it funny that the tattoo is called Pea and the oldest one was found in Tonga in Pea.
Yeah.
Who
Mm.
knows? Maybe coincidence. I don't know. The voyages of Abel Tasman, 1643, Tongan men tattoo waist down to the thighs.
Mm-hmm.
So 1600s, they were saying these are all observations of people who first showed up to Tonga.
Mm-hmm.
Edwin Ferdinand, just above the navel, down within a few inches above the knee. They were seeing Tongans with those tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
George Vason, he recalls his time in Tonga when he received a Tongan tattoo. He was teased often by other Tongan males for not being tattooed.
Mm.
Right? So wait a minute. I thought it was only Ha'amoa who had
Mm-hmm.
pea and tattoos. 1773, Captain James Cook gave the following account of Tatatau on Tongatapu women. They have it only slightly done on the arms, hands, and fingers. Like the one in Ha'amoa, they had the same
Yeah.
thing. Like
Yeah.
Moana too has the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? But hey, wait a minute. Tonga never had this.
Yeah.
I thought this was just Ha'amoa, right? William Mariner, Tonga Islands. The parts tattooed are from within 2 inches of the knees up to about 3 inches above the umbilicus. I'm assuming the belly button. There
Yeah.
are certain patterns or forms of the tatau, right? 1830, Admiral William Waldegrave observed in Vava'u women with tatatau on the legs and feet in a very pretty manner within small stars, like the malu,
Yep. Yep.
right? As a spotted stocking, just like the malu. But wait a
Mhm.
minute. It was only in Samoa or Ha'amoa.
Mm.
See, this is why you got to be careful, and this is why we're asking these questions. These questions are important to ask, right? So here's the difference in the design and the styles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is why it's important to have these conversations and to realize we were one nation.
Yep.
We shared a lot of things, and from what I understand, the malu was primarily for daughters of high chiefs. And guess where they usually got married if you were a daughter of a high enough chief? You typically went to Tonga and got married.
Yeah.
So this is, we need to, that, like we brought this up in some of the comment in some of our videos. We need to stop thinking about Samoa
Section.
as a
Yeah.
nation, Tonga as a nation, Hawaii as a nation, separate nations. We were one nation. We had the same religion. And this is why we say it. We had the same religion. We had the same astronomical knowledge, scientific
Yeah.
knowledge. We had the same political system under the Tuitonga and Tangaloa, the
Mhm.
same language, right? The same culture.
Yeah.
This is this is the thing that blew Captain Cook's mind. He said, he even used the word nation. What is this nation? Because he said everywhere he went, they spoke the same language. He goes, what is this nation that found all these little islands all throughout the biggest ocean in the world?
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, I think to me, when you make comments and positions of, oh, this is ours, this is yours, and
Yeah.
you primarily base because some people said, oh, we are the center, we are the origin of all things. I don't know. To me, it's just kind of silly. What makes more sense? Unified nation with a capital on Tongatapu.
Yeah. 100%
Any
agree.
additional thoughts?
No, and just to add on to your thoughts on Taratao, that it was a Polynesian thing, because the oldest tattooing kit is found on Tongatapu. They haven't found a tattooing kit as of yet to be older than the one found.
Yeah.
And not even tattooing kit. I think it's the oldest in the world. Tua?
Yeah, in the world.
That's the crazier thing. So, just it's a Polynesian thing. We tattoo. The word tattoo is from tatau. It's the same. That's the origin. We're all the same people, but it's gonna take some time to people are just thinking as that we were like separate little nations that didn't travel between each island often enough that we kind of just did our own thing, just had interactions here and there. But it was much more deeper than that.
Yeah, not 100%. So we'll return. I'm glad you brought up the tattoo thing because then we can touch that a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's come back and read the rest of let me see here. Oh, I got to bring it back to the stage. That's why. So this is the second paragraph of the same comment.
Want me to read the second paragraph?
Go ahead and read it, Masi.
All right. So anyone can say they're king or queen of Harlem. A government isn't formed by some guy saying he's president. It's the founding system of political support from other noble or influential bodies that create a king title. The first Tuitonga had bloodline links to houses in Samoa, which backed him, and the Tuitonga participated in Samoan entitlement and gained influence over time through what was seen as legal campaigns, be it in battle or politics. It was sanctioned by both bodies in Western Samoa and Eastern Samoa. All Samoans today can and have been given that right in the past, able to acquire title for the family because they are born with a birth title Samoa. This, though, is not true in Tonga. Only the bloodline link can acquire title. Other Tongans without the link are commoners for life, which is why democracy movements have spread in the island nation. What's your thoughts on that, Dua?
Okay.
Overall?
Okay. We'll start with this. This is when you bring a Samoan or Ha'amoa perspective of politics and power into the Tongan system, which is not how it happens. In the Ha'amoa perspective, and we've discussed this in the past, right, Masi?
Yeah.
Political power can go through the female.
Yes.
So there's a lot more of a matriarchal
Yeah.
power influence in Ha'amoa. In Tonga, that is not the case.
It's
in
a
a
different
social
role.
or familial, yes. But in political and government
just
power,
running, yeah.
not even. And how do we know this? Only the females come from Ha'amoa and the outer islands. The male, the heir, always has to be from Tonga, from Tonga Tapu,
Yeah.
a male heir, from father to son, father to son, father to son.
Because that's how your
Right?
title is passed
Exactly.
on. Yes.
Even to the point that, you know, it seems silly, but this is how structured it is, how people were so fixed on the culture and the history that it has to go father to son, that when one Tuitonga didn't have children, they wanted to give it to his brother, and the brother said, no, that's not how our system works. The way our system works is it goes from father to son, not brother to brother. So what do the Falefa do? They
Mhm.
make a quote unquote Tuitonga out of a piece of wood.
Yeah.
Have that piece of wood get married, declare that the brother of the previous Tuitonga is the
It's the
son.
son.
Then mysteriously this wood Tuitonga dies and they reinstall him. That is how important it is that the patriarchal line is maintained. That you will go through the silliness. From our perspective, silly, but when line of authority through the patriarchal line is so important, then this is not silly because now you can justify
Yes.
father to son, father to son.
Yes.
Right?
And it was
and
treated.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Master.
No, I was going to say no. It was treated as such that even that wood or coconut had its own lung, just to
and that's what I'm
justify
saying.
that's how important.
So this is, I think, the mistake that this viewer and listener is making is he or she is bringing the Ha'amoa perspective, injecting it into the Tongan structure, and then has a incorrect interpretation. And so that to me is a critical flaw in that thinking. And that is assuming that is assuming that Tangaloa resided in Ha'amoa, and that's where Tangaloa is, which we kind of also dispute, right? We dispute that
Yeah.
is not the case.
Yeah.
And that is by all the ruins you saw when you were in Tonga, right? Walking around in La Paja, seeing all the pyramids and all of that. I think, I don't know, to me, this is a very weak position. And actually everything that the accusations to me collapses and falls back on Ha'amoa being only tied to the royal line through matriarchal marriage and having social influence, but never having political, right, power
Yeah.
or structure. Not only in Tonga, but even in Ha'amoa, because it would be Tongan-based men or who have children with Ha'amoa that would become the leaders to the Tokatufa. But yeah, that's my
Correct.
initial take on that.
No, awesome point of view, and I'll just add on to, and this is the thing that person didn't understand. He said commoners are for life. No, there's been many commoners in Tonga today that have been given new Ho'eiki names that are part of the noble. They're not they're hereditary noble names, but they're people who've given high titles that are just as valuable, like Lord Savele Tua. He's just a business guy
Yeah.
that's kind of been a big contributor. There's been many other influential people that the king has actually created their status, and now they can vote even when they have the Ho'eiki election for the legislative assembly. So you're not always a commoner for the rest of your life. And the thing is, he doesn't understand that commoner is that he's using it in a derogatory way, that you're just a commoner, you have no say. A, a Tongan person has a role within their own role of the village, of supporting your Ho'eiki or your noble in that area, because that also brings you prestige, because you can also be elevated within your own, let's just
Circles.
say, family ties and circles through your noblemen. And then there's a possibility when you're elevated to that, you can be elevated to by the king. Like there's multiple steps, and I've seen people be elevated in different ways. So you're always not, even you think you don't have a title, but you're elevated in different ways on your family connection, because like I said, during this time that Dubois first, he couldn't make every people with titles elevate everybody. He was only picking the ones that were allegiance to him, and then that was kind of pretty much it. And then pretty much just kept the two very traditional titles that's been there for a while, the Tu'i Hatagalawa, which name changed to, after I think 2 generations, to
Tutungi.
Tungi, and then Kalanivalu, which is a descendants from the Tu'i Tonga. The rest were pretty much just close allies to Dubois the first. But see, those are the little histories that I don't think our viewer knows, but we enjoy the viewers' participation and viewing, because these are the discussions that I think is very helpful for everyone
Yeah.
to understand. But that's all.
Not 100% agreed with that. Looking at our time here, let's go to the next one. The next one on the program here is ABC. I want to say Australia did a story about the Tongan Monarchy, right? And I think this is important because it gives some more insight. Kind of goes along with the questions and what we were discussing about the tattoos and stuff. So let's jump into that one here. Let's bring it up. George Smith, greatest flanker of all time. Just playing.
That's when he was. Oh yeah, we did get a lot of feedback on
Yeah,
that
that's
one.
why I said that. Yeah, because everybody had their. I knew it was gonna be like controversial. I was like, dude, that's just my 2 cents. But
No, and this is the hairstyle when he was causing havoc in the.
Yes, exactly, in his prime right here.
We've got sporting greatness, a legion of loyal and joyful fans, and some of our cultural practices are interesting. But one of Tonga's most unique features is its monarchy. The house of His Majesty King Tupou VI, Fale o Tupou, is the only remaining monarchy in the Pacific, and it's hugely influential and important to Tongan society. Hi, Robert.
Hello.
That's
Great
where I
to
was
see
just
you.
Oh,
earlier
hello.
this week.
Finally.
I know. Every year,
That's the public
Robert
acting
Filo
that didn't
brings
run the water
tourists through to the
properly.
eastern side of Tongatapu. This sleepy village of Moa was once a seat of power in ancient Tonga. And here, you'll find these unique
Look, you-
pyramid-like structures.
So
You
you
gonna
know
say
that
something,
big
Masi?
tree? Yes.
Right here.
You know that
We're
big tree
seeing the
right there?
Tuyatejo.
That's where the Tuihatejo was buried. I had no idea until I went up there and just sat there and just like, because I was sitting under this tree. I was like, dude, what is this, a man-built mound? I didn't even know what I was on top. But then after talking to my older brother, who's very familiar in this area, because just for everyone to know, this is the whole burial of the ocean. There's the ocean there of the was it burial at the was it burying of the ocean water of 100 acres. That's
Yes.
all part of it. And I was like, and I was sitting over there. It's like, oh, I forgot to ask what was the first Tuihatejo's name that was buried there. But I was like, I wonder if whoever is from the Hatejo side that's kind of more familiar, if they do have names. I don't know who was the first Hatejo, but I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Here's an interesting thing now that you're bringing this up, right, Masi? So
Mhm.
we had that question, I think, from Polynesian Prince about what is it, the Hue mounds or structures in Hawaii. Okay.
Mhm.
And we talked about the similarities of those structures throughout Ha'amoa, Tahiti, Wallis,
Mhm.
and Futuna Uvea. But you notice the difference between that and the structures on Tonga,
Yeah.
larger scale. This
Yeah.
building this is much more sophisticated and complicated than stacking stones.
Yes.
Right? This
For sure.
shows a level of civil engineering, higher level of logistics, and he'll mention a little bit about the stones being moved. But that's not even the most impressive part. You know what's the most impressive part of this view? Is what you just mentioned earlier. This is all man-made land.
Yes.
This is
Yeah,
like all of this was ocean, all and even more to the south, right, or to the
Yeah.
west. All of this used to be ocean, and now it's man-made land. That is
Yeah.
next level civilization building, infrastructure building.
Yeah. No, and I was gonna say, with all those other parts of the Polynesian Empire or the Tuitonga Empire, the way they built their structures, you can tell that was only a temporary thing. The way
Mhm.
they built the structures here, that's when you know it's permanent residence, man.
Yeah.
This is like permanent home. This is where it all started. The other parts of the empire, you can tell they're just remnants of temporary stay or visits.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I'm just thinking out loud that way, because that's why they were built
Hill
quickly.
country summer residence.
Iyo. It's like when people say, "I want to go to my cottage for the holiday."
We're gonna go to the cabin by the lake, right?
Yes.
But this is long term, like you said, permanent residence. But those are a couple of things that stick out. That look at the difference in, and we're not even talking about the Ha'amonga, right? And we're not even talking about this level of civilization, man-made land lasting hundreds of years, and then building massive structures on top of that man-made land. I mean,
Mhm.
this is why it's guys. It's hard for me to think otherwise, man. This is pretty sophisticated stuff. Okay.
Is known as langi.
This one was built around the 16th century during the rule of Telea himself as his burial mound. They tie these
And I
rocks
just sorry, I don't mean to pause this, but we did that. Look at that study, Masi, that says that the Pai Pai Telea is possibly 300 to 400 years older.
Mhm.
Right? So
correct.
he's saying 1600s. That's kind of like the generally accepted. This could be 1200.
Yeah.
Right? So this is
New
much,
data.
much older, potentially with all the studies that they've been doing lately.
Yeah.
the side of double-hulled canoe, and then hundreds of men. They have the ropes pulling with the rolling logs.
Oh, I see.
Bringing them ashore. Just marvel the construction.
Yes.
You can close your eyes for a minute in there and see the people working really hard under the authority of Telea to construct such a monument.
These langi are
And just as a reminder, where did the labor come to build that?
Ha'amoa were known
Ha'amoa.
for stone axing, right? Cutting
Yeah.
rocks.
So it was the Ha'amoa brothers and sisters. Once again, we were the same nation.
Yeah.
The same. It was, think of this as not, if we get rid of the idea of nation and think of Ha'amoa as a village, and that village came and built it in the capital. That's the way you need to think about it. And why did he bring the people from Ha'amoa? Because the Tu'i Tonga had left Tonga for what, at least five generations, right? With Ka'ulufonua Fekai goes to Ha'amoa, and 5 generations later, they decide to come back to Tonga. And so they bring, obviously, after you spend 5 generations, the Tu'i Ha'atakalaua has much more influence on Tonga Tapu and in that area.
Yeah.
So you're going to bring the labor from Ha'amoa, and then to reestablish your dominance, you not only build this large residence, but then you build it on technically what's the Tu'i Ha'atakalaua's land. So
Correct.
just kind of things to keep in mind as we go through it for the viewers. Anything to add to that, Masi?
No, 100% agree.
are physical reminders.
Oh, let's pause right here. So here's the question. What are sources to look at to see building of a whole piece of land? So Polynesian Prince, we do visit it on a couple of scientific studies that we've done. So they're in those videos, but also if you go to thfale.com, there are certain articles. If you look at the articles related to the Tu'i Tonga residents or settlements, I believe in there you'll find one of the 7 articles that will talk about the creation of this land. But there are also archaeological scientific studies as well on that.
Of our ancient dynasties. Established around 900 AD, the Tu'i Tonga was the paramount ruler of ancient Tonga.
Much
Later,
older than 900
2 other branches sprung
AD,
forth,
just
Tu'i
FYI.
Ha'atakalaua and Tu'i Kanakupolu, usurping political power and influence from the Tu'i Tonga, who then became a spiritual figure instead.
Ka pauna koe tau mo ui koe ni I he taimi koe ia, koe o tua e Tu'i Tonga ai. Pea topu tapu hono sino, pa koe founga o tau tauhi a tau tolu ki aina e whai ki he rere I taha. Ko tau tolu kai ke whai ho tau whatongia. Na e o mai ai ke tau tauhi aki. Kia ki nau tolu. Ka pau te utala whakatata. Tanga whewhe tua e o tulangi. Tolo tonga I heni ai toko lau kilu. Koe nau whai e ngā ue koe o tulangi. O kutalaki he ngahi a honi tokuana e whaka ngā ue pōpura I nau tolu. No. Koe Tu'i Tonga na e toko tahape. Ka pau na anau pōpura. O sfuoloa hono tāmate e Tu'i tapuange. Mo e Tu'i mi ono aho mo ka hou e ki. He futoko lahi ange kakai. Ka koe hea uhinga na kai ke whai pehe ai. He nā nau whai nau tole ngā ue koe Tu'i. Ko e nau Tu'i, te nau mau ho nau inasi mo nau tāpuaki pia me he Tu'i. Hange pe koe tau whai e mea ke lotua.
This absolute monarchy thrived in ancient times, but where is it now? Towards the end of the 18th century, Tonga was plunged into civil war after the tyrant ruler, Tuku Aho, was assassinated. The civil war would last 50 years until Taufa Ahau, an ambitious and strategic rival, launched a campaign to take control of Tonga. Backed by Wesleyan missionaries, Taufa Ahau emerged victorious. 1845, he consolidated all 3 dynasties under one crown and was christened King George Tupou I, the first king and father of modern Tonga. 1875 saw the enactment of the Tonga Constitution.
Any thoughts, Masi, on the idea that gentleman says that, you know, the Tuitonga was viewed as a god, and and how and how you think the old religion and Tangaloa and the Tuitonga, and just kind of any thoughts on that
Mm,
perspective.
yeah, no. I think he that when he says a god, it was just something like I said. Mua was one of the few places on Tongatapu that had no kolotao, right? So everyone revered the Tuitonga just as like a very like a godly like. It was just almost untouchable, and that is probably due to probably the knowledge and being the closest kind of founding member of, you know, the Polynesian Empire. So that's that's I think that's what the gentleman was kind of implying, and I interpret it as the people was willing to build his langi, or to kind of to kind of serve the Tuitonga, because like I said, it elevated their status, serving and saying to when you go back home, I work for the Tuitonga. That's my boss.
Mhm.
That's a higher elevation than any other what title or rank in all of Polynesia. So to me, that's kind of how I interpret that as, and you know, even when coming into now in Tonga today, it's still Tuitonga is still a revered, and that's why Tupo the first still kept it, changed the name because of just etiquette wise, Tongan etiquette, because of that name still carries so much weight. It will still Tuitonga title will still over surpass the Tuikang Polo, so that's why they changed it to Kalanivalu, and then the Tuihatagalawa to Tungi. It's just tongue and courtesy and stuff. So that's why those stories and those names still exist today. But yeah, those are my thoughts there. I don't know if you had anything additional or maybe different
Yeah.
perspective to
No, yeah. From the thing that really, to me, I think from some of our previous discussions is when you go back to the founding fathers of Tonga / Polynesia, you have Maui, the navigator, right? The scientific guy. He knows the astronomical knowledge.
Yes,
You had the Taula, who were the priests.
the
And
key
then
priest.
Tangaloa was kind of like the kingly line, but also had priestly, was a representative of who on the island, representative of Hikuleo,
Okay. Yeah, he could.
right? Hikuleo, which was God. And so as time goes on, and as religion, like we talked about, we kind of take the position, we really do believe that the Lotumua, the old religion in its core, did not see Tangaloa as a god, but
Yeah,
someone who had favor with God of
correct.
Hikuleo. But as time goes on, what naturally happens? You start worshiping and considering certain people to be godlike or whatever, just as the quote unquote doctrine deteriorates over time. So that's what made the Tuitonga unique and special, is was, hey, this is someone that was favored by God, tied to miracles that led them to the Pacific, to Polynesia. Um, and then there's one thing that the woman mentioned, that the Tuikanuku usurped political power, and then the Tuitonga just became just a spiritual. No, the Tuitonga always had the spiritual, right?
Yes,
That's part of the inheritance of that title. That's something that you cannot win in a battle, right?
yes,
That's something you can't politically position yourself for. That you have to inherit it. That's why I think the ancestors were so critical of father to son, because it is that unbroken line to Tangaloa, right? That connects them to Hikuleo. That's what made that line unique. And if you deviate from that line, right, going back to the question in the beginning of that perspective of, oh, Ha'amoa bringing the female. No. That wasn't the driving factor. The driving factor was father, son, father, son, father,
mm,
son, all the way to Tangaloa, all the way to Hikuleo. That's the line that made the most influence. And the Tuitonga was only left with a religious role, a sacred role. But in the Tuitonga's prime, it had religious and political and military power. consolidated into one.
And just to add on to you were talking about the transition of power. There's that aspect you kind of shared it when we kind of started this whole podcast thing that it needs to probably take more account and probably needs to be shared about is Laufilitonga, because from the stories I've heard, we've kind of talked about it, and even I've talked to being in Tonga, talking with my older brother, our older brother about it. Laufilitonga commanded a large army, and apparently with that velata, it depends which story you believe. What happened with that thing? Apparently, he commanded a much larger army, but it wasn't a achy thing for him to use all of, because during that time, from what I understand, Tupo the first only had the commanding army of Ha'apai, and then you're talking about Laufilitonga, who has most of his army from Ahake. Then he has some followers in Ha'apai. Then he has some followers in Vavao. Then he has some followers. This is before this is I think this is before Tupo the first became the Tui Vavao. So Tuitonga, Laufilitonga had followers in Vavao and the New Toa. So you're telling me that small group, and then what he did was, because it wasn't a achy thing for him to just use all his army and kamate ikaw tawa, the was it the Kaivai, that was kind of the
Mhm.
Tautahi was known for Tupo the first. All at once, he just sent a little group, and they just had a little scruffle, and that was it. And then it was just written as if Tupo the first won. So that's kind of the stories I've
Yeah.
heard, Tua. But
It's not a clear. It's because Tupo the first, just like George Washington, and we appreciate George Washington, right? But they understood the significance of image, right? Like George Washington, from what I read, he had fake teeth and stuff put on when he got old and stuff,
Yeah.
because it was living up to that image. And it's not putting him down. That's important. What people perceive of you has a big impact on how they follow you. So Tupo the first, you can't go with, I'm bringing you the new Christian God, right? Who favors me, and then say, oh yeah, I lost to Laufilitonga. You can't, that's not a winning message, right?
Yeah.
So, and then since he gets a lot of the political control later on, you control the narrative. We see that now in
Yes.
US politics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's normal. But my understanding is, I don't think was Laufilitonga the actual Tuitonga at that time. I don't think he was the Tuitonga at that
Okay,
time.
so he wasn't. So he was
He
just like
wasn't.
a young single kind of guy, just kind of
Two
doing whatever.
young guys kind of beefing it out while he's over there, and then everything stops when he goes back to become the Tuitonga. So he goes back to become the Tuitonga, and they never really battle. That's the one thing that, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is Laufilitonga is not the Tuitonga then.
Okay.
Okay. Because there's a reason why Tupo the first never attacks Laufilitonga when he is the Tuitonga.
Yeah.
That's a bad political and military move right there. And that's something that I think, and we'll have to double check into that, because a lot of people say, oh, he defeated the Tuitonga. No, he didn't, in my opinion. Unless we'll have to double check this, but even if that narrative is true, which is questionable, right? Because rumor has it the Catholics have a different version of the story.
Yes.
That Laufilitonga never lost to Tupo the first. And actually, they just have these scuffles, these young guys, they grew up together in Mu'a, right? They're both coming up in power, and they're having these scuffles. And then when Laufilitonga has to go back to Tongatapu, because he's going to inherit the Tuitonga, there's any more military interactions between the two of them. So in theory, when they say, oh yeah, he beat the Tuitonga, it's like, no, I don't think so. I don't think Laufilitonga was Tuitonga then.
Yeah. Okay. And just the whole thing with the whole, like what you said, and then it was just, this is the current line, and they take their story, just then their narrative just dominates, and that's how things go.
That's just I mean? He who wins the battle writes the history, right?
Correct.
Okay.
which limited the powers of the monarch and granted greater freedoms to the people.
I would say that the first effect was a sacrifice on the monarch, because his wide powers were now limited to only what is provided in
I
the
want to talk
Constitution.
about this in a little
I
bit.
think the majority of the people, they gained.
And just so I don't forget, where did Tupo the First get such an idea from?
The most privileged. They were granted freedom of slavery. Then they were given, most importantly, the freedom to the fruits of their labors, something they never experienced before.
The days of ancient Tonga faded and the modern monarchy took hold. So, does our modern...
I don't want to get too far because this is kind of related to your comment earlier, Masi. Where did Tupo the First get an idea, kind of like that Tongan historian lady says, that the first act in establishing his new kingdom is to sacrifice the monarch, the king?
Well, I'm just thinking the Tuitonga sacrificed
Exactly.
his position to kind of make the Tuikang Polo and the Tupo the First legitimate as the single ruler of kind of all of Tonga.
Yes. And where do you think Laufiri Tonga could have gotten that idea from?
From the Tangaloa, which probably
The Tangaloa, right?
I don't know.
And also, as I agree 100%, we've had this discussion, I think, in the past.
Yeah.
Something must have happened for whatever it is. We don't know the details. We have the story about Aho Eitu, right?
Yeah.
And he's not the oldest.
Yeah.
But then he becomes the heir from Tangaloa.
Correct.
And there's a whole restructuring of the government. And that leads to thousands of years of order and maintaining governance. Then we come to Tupo the First, and there's a similar thing. The whole technology has changed, right? Foreign influence has changed. Political, the whole landscape of everything has just gone through a major shift. New religion, new ways of power, political power being brought up with the Matai system, with the Tuikano Kupolu. There's, military threats outside of Tonga. And then you sprinkle in there Christianity, where the idea is the king of Israel sacrifices himself for the goodness of his people. Right? And who knows? A lot of scripture says that in the last days, kings will say things that they never heard and do things that they never saw, right? Or people never told them. So to me, this is just kind of strange how this whole thing happens with Laufiri Tonga, right? Like something is going on there that is beyond politics, beyond yes, something unique is going on there. And what Laufiri Tonga does to Tupo the First by sacrificing his title and then empowering Tupo the First to solidify his position. What does Tupo the First do? He, in a way, duplicates that example of giving up certain political powers and military powers to empower his people. So it's really interesting to kind of see that and then look at how Tonga survives through colonization up to this day. I don't know. I don't know if that's something that we're just making up here or what, but I can't help but see those parallels as we're having this conversation.
No, I agree with you, Tua, because right, because we do believe that Hikudel is Jehovah, right? And then now they're understanding the new religion, Christianity, and the sacrifice of Christ for the betterment of the people. You can see that in Laufiri Tonga. Then you see that in Tupo the First. With it's not easy giving up people to serve you. When you have like just easily to control people, right? But just seeing that it's for the betterment of people and people can live off their own labor, right? That's the best way to kind of maintain your sovereignty and to give people free to develop economic strength to kind of survive as your own kind of kingdom, right? So he had a vision way beyond his years, and that's the reason why for Tupolo first it was already hard for him to get to the position he was already in when the first and you first think about it, but it was the reason why he was put in this position because he was gonna make decisions like that when he came to have power. So it's just kind of it's very interesting, very interesting.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%.
Royal families still carry the same political and spiritual power they once wielded.
You never saw people walking past the palace with an umbrella open. As soon as they'd get to the corner of the palace, you'd see them put their umbrella down. I remember Queen Charlotte's car saw a man was on a horse riding towards it. He'd get off the horse and sit on the ground. But things have changed now. I think you have to be accessible.
King Tawha'ahau IV was a champion for education. At one point, Tonga had more PhDs per capita than any other country in the world. But with a better educated populace, grew an appetite for political reform.
We're not talking here about a replacement of the monarchy. We're talking about a democratization and a reform that will allow people to choose their government. It will allow the government to become accountable to the people.
Do you think that there will be a Western-style democracy here in Tonga and it's just a matter of time?
I think it'll happen in the future.
King George V relinquished many of his constitutional powers, ushering a new era of Tongan politics, monarchy and democracy. In the past, the monarch had the power to elect the government. Now, it would be the people. The way nobles and the royal family live and work has also changed.
What are your thoughts, Masi, on that comment?
Yeah, to me, I don't think she really understands the power. The king still has the power in the government because I don't think she really understands the in depth of how Tonga Legislative Assembly works. Because yes, the prime minister is still chosen by the people and is chosen by the representatives, but the king's influence are still there because one, you need the king. That's why remember the king was dissatisfied with the job the current prime minister was doing and the minister of foreign affairs, and that's why he kind of sent his displeasure or just disappointment with how things were going. And then what happened, who are the people closest or their job is to represent the king's will, was the whole right, was the noblemen. They let that know, and what happened, he got removed and then it was kind of vacant, right? Because he never really reappointed. But even the whole prime minister still needs to get approval from the king with their appointments into cabinets. And not only that, the king still holds the power to dissolve
The
government. So it's just gone from, let's just say the king did everything right, and the royals and people, the noblemen, they did everything. Now it's just more like 50-50. You know what I mean, Tua? Because now everything, the prime minister is still chosen by the people because there's 17 representatives from the people that they chose. That's the largest. That's the one that decides who's going to become prime minister. Then there's the noblemen who are in there. So to me, she's just saying relinquish. No, he didn't really he's just made it balanced, and I think this is a good. To me, this is where it's good for everyone because that's the people are holding accountable because the people can make stupid decisions. We've had PMs who have been the most corrupt, chosen by the people, and then the past governments ever in Tonga's history. And then at the same time, the people can hold the nobles and the kings accountable. So to me, I feel like this is a good, delicate line that Tonga's in, and to me, we should maintain it. To me personally, I don't want our king to be like the king of Britain and stuff. It's more of an image thing.
Yeah.
I want it's because of them and what their ancestors have done, which we're all connected to, is what we enjoy on having our. We cannot. We can. You know how you know in America and New Zealand and Australia that if you don't pay your land rates every year, you lose your home, even though you bought it outright.
Yep.
Tonga, there's a lot of people in that's gone away from Tonga from 10 years. They can still hold their land. They're not really paying any land tax or anything, and that's the reason because we have our own land and sovereignty. So to me, it's a right. I think once if we do as a nation move away from that, uh, I don't know if we're gonna be as prosperous as we are. To me, this is a perfect balance that we have. Just a little changes maybe here and there, but the balance of 50-50, holding each other accountable, I think it's right at the moment.
Okay.
I don't know if you had anything to add on or
No,
what
no,
your thoughts
I
are.
agree with that position you're taking there. The one area I wanted to comment on were two things that the reporter said. First is with more education comes an appetite for democracy. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Okay. My belief is this: with more political power available, it leads to power struggles, right? Like, and this is what I mean by it. And then I don't like this. Oh, well, one day a Western style democracy. And I'm like, do we even want a Western style democracy? I think we want a Tongan style democracy,
Yeah.
however that looks. Because let's look at Europe, Western style democracy. Look at how many revolutions France went through a Western style democracy. And that's what I'm saying is, and we kind of mentioned it in the beginning of our program, a quote unquote Matai system can lead to a certain level of chaos, right? But it allows some flexibility to change and make decisions. And the Tuitonga or the Tangaloa system, it allows more uniformity and unitedness, but it's a little more rigid. And that's where I think what you're kind of describing is a balance of trying to get the best of both systems, right? Where we have some level of democracy through parliament, where people can, elect their representatives, but also have the monarchy there to just provide some structure and longevity, because prime ministers come and go, but the king's there through, it's kind of like the Senate versus the House of Representatives in the US government. The House of Representatives, every 2 years, you could be gone.
Yeah.
And you could have people rotating, but the Senate is every 6 years to give some level of stability over time. And I think there's two things I just want to kind of push back on this report is, I don't know if it was necessarily education, but it was more political power is becoming more available. So what naturally happens? More people are vying for political power, because they showed that, what do they call it in Tonga? Black Tuesday, where they burned everything down. There's a handful of evidence that was a small group of people who started that. That fire. It wasn't a national movement. A small group of people did it. But once you start seeing people grab free stuff and looting, there's a temptation. There's a temptation there to, oh, well, I can get a free TV, so I'm going to run and grab So I don't buy that whole fiasco was a national revolt against the royal family and a desperate try for democracy. I think there was a power struggle, because more political power, you can make the argument that the Democrat, if you want to call it that, party in Tonga, with Tupou V releasing more power, was getting left behind, and they had to find a way to cause challenges so that they could be more relevant, is the way I'll describe that. And so, and then I don't like the idea of, oh, will it be a Western? We don't necessarily want a Western, quote unquote, democracy. Democracies are very challenging, And I think Tonga has been fortunate that with the royal family and the parliamentary system, it's been a gradual change over time. And I think that's a good thing, because I guarantee you right now, if Tonga were to switch to 100% democracy like other places, it will lead to severe chaos. Democracy comes with responsibility, like you were saying. You're now responsible if you pick the guy, and if your guy sucks, then you got to own up and own it, because it's on you now. You pick the guy. You know, you can't just point fingers at other people.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, then I was just thinking, there's
king-
also just the ramifications. You know, like democracy. There's some serious ramification. Once you go fully democracy, we won't go back to the level we are right now. And like I said, in my opinion, you know, I don't want to be paying taxes for the rest of your life. Tonga is so blessed. You can have your land and you can leave it however long. You don't have to pay taxes on it, and you can come back to whenever you want. You don't have to.
Something.
You can never
Yeah.
do that. You can never do that in America if you own a home in New Zealand, Australia, many homes. And then if you don't pay in a year, you get a warning. Couple years, you don't pay your land rates or your property tax, the government will hold that and you lose it. Like,
Not
to me,
100%.
that's freaking crazy. The King of Tonga Monarchy family, don't do that to your land. That is yours since forever. And like I said, like, you know, that land where we're at and everything, that's been in our family 1,500 years. That wouldn't happen in a democracy nations, because our family has kind of gone all around in the instability. You know, if we kind of moved overseas or whatever, like, to me democracy would not happen for us to hold on to land 15 since the 1500s.
Not
So that's all I'm
100%.
saying.
Not
That's all I'm saying.
100%. We need to find what works for Tonga, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing that Tupou the First did in this whole transition. Yes, we adopted Christianity, but then all of a sudden, all the influence and financial impact was going overseas. So what did we do? Hey, we like Christianity. We're going to modify it and make the Shashwesiana Tawataina Tonga and make
Yes. Like a
our
Tongan,
version of Christianity and hold that with us, right?
Yes.
Same thing with constitutions, right?
Yes.
Oh, we're going to have a constitution. Yes, we'll limit, but we're going to make some modifications so that
Make it
only Tongans can own land. And that's
Yes.
what we're saying is we have to take the technology, the new political, social structures. I mean, here's a prime example. The prime minister, when was it? Like 10 years ago, signs a UN resolution that was going to, you know, change the social fabric of Tonga. The people had to go to the king to stop that, because parliament was going to adopt it and go against the religious beliefs of the people. So they went to the king, and the king said, in order to act on behalf of the will of my people, I am striking that. Right? So, like you're saying, there's pros and cons. One of the funniest descriptions of a pure democracy is this: pure democracy are 3 wolves and a lamb sitting at the table, and they're going to vote what's for dinner. Right? Of course, all the 3 wolves are going to vote, we're eating lamb tonight.
Yes.
So getting that balance, I think Tonga is very fortunate. And like you said, once we lose the monarchy, there ain't no going back.
Yeah.
So, you know, you better be very, very sure and that's what you want. And if it is what you want, you better own any of the outcomes, which is not, democracy isn't always pretty, right? It has its negatives. And then look at the Western democracies in Europe. Europe is dying.
Yeah.
Western civilization is dying, and we don't want that. We want to take the good things from the Western civilization to serve our Tongan goals and culture and things that we want to achieve. And that's how you thrive as a people and as a civilization.
Yes, I agree, 100%.
So funny. So this guy right here, I went to
Aren't you guys the same age?
yeah, we went to Mataaho Kindergarten. And if I ever see him, I will apologize for what I did to him in kindergarten.
And not only that, but didn't both of your babysitters kind of go at it too?
Oh yeah, Nani was gonna. So yeah, so
You guys both
so
had your babysitters. We're gonna go at it too.
oh yeah, dude. Well, he had multiple, right? Funky Te'e.
Oh
He had
yeah,
like 2 or 3, and after our little incident, the Te'es were running and they were gonna destroy
yeah.
me, and then Nani jumped in
Came.
front of me. He's like,
Mm,
"If you touch my son, I'm gonna kill you."
yeah,
Right? So, and here I was like, "Yeah, that's right." And then right after they walked away, Nani smacked me around, told me to be nice to the prince and now the crown prince of Tonga.
correct. Crown
So
Prince.
that's pretty funny.
That is funny.
So yeah, like Clyde
That's
Moore says, I apologize for my transgressions.
yeah. No, that's the thing. And right, this is how you know. This is the awesome part of growing up in Tonga. You mingle with people you just think, oh, they're not a nobleman's child or whatever. And then like you have a little scuffle and it's like, oh, okay, that's how. I mean, that's the awesome thing about Tonga. You're just an arm's length away from, you know,
Yeah.
from.
Well, and it was funny because I think like 2 weeks later, so his mom comes and has lunch with him,
Mhm.
and they ask me and Nani to come and sit down and have lunch with them.
Mm,
Right? So like
yeah.
you said, you know,
There's
we're
only an
just
arm's
all
length. Only
one.
in Tonga.
Yeah.
You know, only in Tonga. That's the
Yeah.
cool thing about it. Yeah.
That is cool.
Queen, Crown Prince, so the immediate royal family have an income from the government. But for myself and the rest of the royal family do not have an income from the government. Fortunately, my parents educated us overseas, so therefore we could work and earn our own living. For instance, 2 of my children are civil servants. They work in government. Perhaps the concept of the responsibility has changed very little. But for the royal family, it has always been a leadership role. We lead the people in Christian living. We lead the people in, hopefully, lead the people in education. And in all our cultural activities, we also lead people then.
Super.
And I think that's what she's talking about is some of the things we were talking about earlier. The royal family still has some level of political power, but
Yeah.
really where they shine is in that soft power that she's talking about. Right?
Yeah.
Living in the Christian leadership, showing what it means to be Christian, you know, showing that education is the path forward, right? A lot of different things, and that
Mhm.
unifies the people. And I think that's an important thing that they can still bring to the table in our version of self-government in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
The sixth assumed the throne after his older brother's death 3 years ago. Today, the transition was complete. He was anointed with holy oil, adorned with a ring and scepter, then crowned King of Tonga.
Receives the crown of royal dignity and honor.
I think that we still need the constitutional monarchy. When His late Majesty granted the Constitution of Tonga, he did mention again and again how he had hoped that Tonga will remain Tonga for the Tongans.
Very cool.
Yep. No, and that's kind of the same vision we share with the late Majesty too. When the Constitution was granted, was keep it Tonga for Tongans. Let's not
Mhm.
try to be, because we have so many Tongans living in America, try to make it like America's
Don't
kind
make
of
it America.
yeah.
America
Don't
is
make it
already
like
America.
yeah. Don't make it go. You have a lot of Tongans living in Auckland, New Zealand, trying to make it like a Auckland, New Zealand in Tonga and in Australia. No, Tonga. Let's just keep Tonga good for Tonga, and we can all navigate and enjoy what the other countries provide and funnel that blessing to Tonga, but keep Tonga. You know, because
No,
if you want to live in those
100%.
other countries, you can always fly there and
Yeah.
work hard on your visa and go stay there. But don't come and change what you. If you get deported, then maybe that's a sign that you don't bring what you learn over there and bring it to Tonga. There's a reason why you were deported, and then you have nowhere to go. You can only blame yourself. Eh?
Yeah. No, 100%. Looking at the time, we were going to look at the Tukufonua, but I think we've touched that because it's good with the time. And any closing thoughts, Masi? Anything to
Nope.
share with the
Look,
viewers and the team?
no, appreciate to be back. Appreciate you, Tua, for holding down the fort, and definitely will be doing the more live duos that I'll be kind of steady for a little while. No traveling anywhere. Just gonna be here for a little bit. So looking forward for that. Appreciate the viewers for their comments and just following us and just having a discussion. That's what this is all about. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, which is approaching. And yeah, that's it for me. Tua, do you have anything?
No, once again, appreciate your time, Mr. Aotearoa, and appreciate you sharing your world travels across our Polynesian nation and kind of reminding us all the little dots that connect us as a nation. Appreciate all the viewers. Honestly, there's been a lot of traffic, a lot of comments, a lot of sharing, and really appreciate it. Glad people are enjoying the content, or at the very least tolerating it. We're by no means say we're professionals. We do this for the love of the game. We think these are important conversations to have. And once again, thank you to everyone. And in case we don't have another one, I think we may sneak in one more, but just in case, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We're excited for 2025. And as always, stay curious, be bold, and ask the tough questions. Till next time, peace.
See ya.